Welcome back. It's Sunday. I'm Skelly. The world tried its best this week. It did not succeed. Let's get into it. Our first story comes from Southern California, where a storage tank at an aerospace facility in Garden Grove began overheating Thursday, leaking a chemical called methyl methacrylate into the air. Now, for those of you keeping score at home, methyl methacrylate is highly toxic, highly flammable, and according to the fire chief on scene, not a great neighbor. The local authorities issued evacuation orders of up to 50,000 residents. Disneyland, however, which is 4 miles away, remained open. So, to recap, 50,000 people were told to flee their homes immediately with no timeline for a return. And Space Mountain kept running. The happiest place on Earth. Profit over people? Now, here's what this means for you and your preps. 50,000 people were told to leave their homes on a moment's notice. No timeline, no clear destination. 36 first responders were injured. Evacuees ended up in emergency shelters, and one of those shelters had to close for the night. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If you got a call right now or tonight, how long would it take you to get out the door? Most people who think they're prepared will spend the first 20 minutes looking for their kids' shoes. Your bag should be packed. Your family should have a rally point. You should know at least 2 routes out of your neighborhood, because in a real evacuation, one of them will be gridlocked. And here's the part nobody talks about. Know what chemicals are stored near you. Industrial facilities, rail lines, storage yards. The EPA has a public database called the RMP, the Risk Management Plan, and it will show you every facility within miles of your home that stores hazardous materials. 50,000 people in Garden Grove had no idea a tank of industrial chemicals was sitting 4 miles from a theme park. You should know what's in your backyard. I've known what's in my backyard for quite a long time. Mostly me. Story 2, gasoline. The national average hit $4.56 per gallon this week, the highest price in 4 years. Every single state in the country is now above $4 a gallon. Ohio is currently above record Memorial Day highs. And experts are warning, politely and professionally, that $5 a gallon this summer is not a prediction, it's a forecast. And here's why. In case you've been living in a grave for the last 3 months. In February, the United States and Israel launched military strikes against Iran. Iran responded by closing the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway which through roughly 20% of the world's oil supply travels. Negotiations are ongoing. The strait remains, for practical purposes, closed. As of this recording, Trump has announced that a deal is largely negotiated. Iran state media said something different. So, yeah, there's that. Now, what does $4.56 a gallon mean for your prepping community? It means several things, and none of them are good for the people who aren't prepared. First, it means supply chains are under pressure. Everything that gets delivered to your grocery store, your hardware store, your pharmacy, it arrives on a truck. Trucks run on diesel. Diesel is not getting cheaper, which means the cost of everything is quietly creeping upward. and it will continue to do so as long as the strait stays closed. And second, it means your bug out plan has a cost. If you need to travel 300 miles in an emergency and gas is $4.55 a gallon, that's a real number. And a truck with a 30-gallon gas tank now costs well over $100 to fill. Do you have cash? Do you have a fuel reserve? Speaking of fuel reserve, I know some of you are already thinking it, and yes, stored fuel is legitimate prep. Use fuel stabilizer to extend gasoline shelf life up to 24 months. Rotate it, use it, and replace it. 10 gallons stored safely in an approved container is not paranoid. It's math. And third, and this is the one that really matters, this is what an early stage supply chain shock looks like. Not Mad Max, not empty shelves overnight, just slow, grinding pressure on your budget, your mobility, and your options, month by month, week by week. I've been through a few of these. The people who noticed early and acted early did fine. The people who waited to see how bad things would get, well, here we are. Our third story today ties the last two together because nothing this week happened in a vacuum. The Iran conflict. On February 28th of this year, the United States and Israel launched a series of strikes against Iran, targeting its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Iran's supreme leader? Well, we've met recently. Iran responded by closing the Strait of Hormuz. Since then, over 3 months, almost no commercial shipping has moved through the strait. Oil prices have surged. A ceasefire is technically in place, and negotiations are technically ongoing. Trump has said Saturday that a deal is largely negotiated. Iran state news agency said the strait would remain under Iranian control. Now, I am not a geopolitical analyst. I am, however, the skeleton who has watched the living do this sort of thing for a very long time. And here's what history says, plainly. The average American hears Strait of Hormuz and thinks, that's far away. That's not my problem. That's a foreign policy issue. And then they go to fill up their gas tank, and it costs them $40 more than it did the previous spring. Then they go to the grocery store, and the prices of everything has slightly, inexplicably, went higher. Then their heating bill ticks up. Then their electric bill. Then the cost of the plastic items in the store. Because it all connects. Preppers understand something that most people don't want to sit with. The system that we rely on, fuel, food, distribution, power, supply chains, are not as stable as we've been told. They're interlocked. And when one piece moves, everything else moves with it. The Strait of Hormuz is a 21-mile wide choke point. That's it. 21 miles of water. And its closure has caused gas prices to rise 50% in 3 months, triggering a Memorial Day travel tax of $2 billion and contributed to the highest inflation this country has seen in years. Here's what I want you to take from this week's news. 1. Hazmat situations happen without warning. Know your evacuation plan. Know what's near you, and know how to move your family in an hour or less. 2. Fuel prices are telling you something. They're telling you that the global supply chains are under real stress. Listen, act accordingly. Store fuel, rotate food, reduce your dependency on a system that currently demonstrates how fragile it really is. And 3, the strait isn't reopened yet. Negotiations could succeed. They could also fail. Either way, the lesson isn't about Iran. The lesson is that a single pressure point on a global system can reshape daily life for 50 million Americans inside of 90 days. That's why we prep. Not because the world is ending, because the world keeps almost ending. And the difference between a bad week and a catastrophic one is usually just whether or not you were ready. And that's this week's headlines. A chemical tank in California, 456 at the pumps, and a 21-mile waterway that is rewriting the global economy. Happy Memorial Day, everyone, and we'll see you next Sunday. Assuming we're all still here.